Hey guys, welcome back to the Real Estate Monopoly. My name is Kerwin.
And this is Kenneth.
And we are the Donis brothers. And today we are talking about a very important topic and something that we have over time learned to really prioritize, and something that we've also started talking about a lot on our channel and in our content, and that is time freedom.
Yes.
We always like to say time is your most valuable asset, and it really is.
It is.
And we'll talk about why. But starting out, Kenneth, you can do it in your own words and I'll add to it, but what would you say time freedom is, and define it in your own words?
Yeah, great question. I would say it's more so just the ability to do whatever you want. So wake up at whatever time you want, go wherever you want at whatever time you want, eat at whatever time you want, have dinner at whatever time you want, spend time with your family at regardless of I guess, what are those things called?
Christmas or
what is Christmas? Regardless of the holiday, just do
occasion.
whatever, or occasion. Yeah. So without notice, right? Tomorrow, okay, I feel like going to get dinner with my family or grab lunch or whatever, right? So just being able to do whatever you want at whatever time you want.
I agree. I would say, time freedom is the ability to really just have control over your most valuable asset, you know?
Yeah.
Because for us, like, we're just kind of almost conditioned to not have control over your own time.
Yeah.
Not that necessarily we're like trying to talk down on a job or school, but in general, since the beginning of like your life, you were told when to go where and what to do when.
Yep.
And I think that Jerry, we're on a call.
Wait.
No,
what,
wait, no, it's recording. Unless it's important, like life or death. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, action. So
all of our lives.
Yeah, don't do that. 3, 2, 1, action. Our entire lives, we were really conditioned both by the school system and, I mean, even just like the notion or idea of getting a job. And of course, we're not looking down upon jobs or the school system, but I think it's important to be aware of the way that you're kind of told what to do when, and you don't really have a lot of freedom to choose what you do at that time. And so we want to kind of shift that paradigm and break it and really tell people that it is an option to sort of like have control over your own time and use it as you want, because at the end of the day, like I said, that's the one thing. And I was reading a lot of articles on this, and they say time is a non-renewable resource. So you can't ever really get any more. You can get money. You can get more money. I mean, they print it too. So but you can't ever get back your time.
Absolutely. I agree. I mean, like my brother said, time is the most valuable asset that you have. And most people, I mean, we've been conditioned. Go to school. I went at 7:30. I think they started going at like 9 a.m. high school. You go at a certain time, then they tell you when to go to lunch, and then they tell you when you can leave. And then after that, then it's like, okay, you have to be here at this time for lunch. For work, when you're working on a 9 to 5. So it's more so just being able to have control of what you really want to do as with your life, right? Yep. So I think that's the most important thing, and I think that's the most important thing when it comes to time freedom.
And I want to like dive into the different, like in terms of what people get wrong about time freedom, whether or not people even know whether to like what is time freedom, really they really understand what it means. But first off, I wanted to maybe address, are people aware of what time freedom is, and do they want it? And so it's my understanding that a lot of people don't even know that it's an option, like I said, because we've been conditioned at such a young age to be told what to do when, and a lot of people like that. There's almost like it can be scary too, because if you're in control of your time, then it's almost like a responsibility, and it can be overwhelming. It can be kind of like you can get lost because there's not as much structure. Yeah. So that is like a downside to it, I guess. But in general, I think a lot of people aren't even pursuing freedom. I think when a lot of people think of the closest thing to it is retirement at like 65 when you can retire, but that's when they push off until they're 65. And at that point you can do a lot, but your options are limited. A lot of people, what we're talking about mainly is, because of course you can't become time free at 65, but what we're talking about is becoming time free in your early age, where you can actually enjoy life, and you can enjoy life at 65, and that's not what I'm saying. But
do whatever, right?
Exactly. You can just do it sooner. Like, why wait? Because a lot of times people, and I think this is what I think most people do in society, they will work a 9 to 5 and I looked it up. I believe it's about 85%, if I'm not mistaken. 85% of people aren't happy at their jobs. So most people would probably tell you, I'm just working up until retirement, or to be able to afford the lifestyle they have. And I would say, of course, it's important, and we're going to talk about how interlinked time freedom and financial independence are, because you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
You know, you need financial independence to be time free, because of course you need your financial needs met.
Yep.
You also need to, if you don't want to just sit in a house and like sit in a box and
Not do
you can
anything.
be time
You have
free,
to enjoy it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I was saying, time freedom, it really is just about first identifying that it's an option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, and I've said this before, previously thinking, I never even thought about it that way, right? Like I never knew that you could potentially have either a business or investment or, really business or investments that are making you money that you don't necessarily have to be working for it. And then you can choose to do what you want with your time and your days. And I never thought that way. We were always just told a certain way about certain things, right? Like I said, go to school this time, go to work. This is where you have to be there, etc. And I think most people don't even think about the fact or even pursue a life in which they live their life by design.
Absolutely. So like I said earlier, people will work a 9 to 5, and a lot of times they are working for money.
Yeah.
But what they don't realize is that they're working for money, but they're trading their time for money. And so when you're doing that, because of course we all have to work, like I said, this isn't something that's going to happen overnight, and you have to work towards it over time. And that's why we'll get to how you do this. But spoiler alert, it's investing in cash flowing assets, which will produce passive income, which will allow you to live your life by your own design, have time freedom, because you don't have to work a job 9 to 5 to support your life goals and your financial goals and just support the lifestyle you want. But when it comes to trading time for money, I think a lot of times people are chasing they call it keeping up with the Joneses, where you're trying to have the nice house and the car and the lifestyle and going on trips and things. But at the end of the day, and we had this on our website, we will soon, is what is the point of having money if you don't have the time to enjoy it? Because at the end of the day, you can have a ton of money in the bank account, but if you're chained to a desk, not really able to spend the money with the time you want, I think that really puts things into perspective.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, like what you said, if you have a lot of money, but you don't have time to spend it, or you can't spend it with your family, or you can't go on vacations, then it's like it's almost just as, yes, it's still good to have the money, don't get me wrong, but it's almost worthless, right? So it's like, it's kind of a combination of both, and or more so even on the time freedom. Like if you have the time, if you can make investments and make, $50K a year or even $100K a year off of just passive income / investments, but you can go wherever, that is, you're free, you're living an amazing life wherever you choose to do whatever you choose to do with your time, although it, might not be a significant amount of money, but I think that would be better than other situations.
Yeah, a few months ago, and this just came to mind, I was on my phone, and I never get on social media, but I was on social media that day, and there was this concept of the new rich that came up, and it was a bunch of kids living in another country, and they were pretty much having low paying jobs, but they were living in places that the money wasn't.
There's a word
farther,
for that.
It went farther. I don't know, arbitraging or something. I don't know.
No,
but the point is, I'm not trying to say you should go move anywhere. They were nomadic, but the point was, they valued their time the most, and so they were living the life by their own design, and that's what really inspired me to think, okay, I think a previous generation was more of get a high-paying job, and in order to get that high-paying job to support our lifestyle and get the money I want, I have to work 9 to 5 all day, every day, and kind of be in this rat race. Whereas I think this is becoming more of a trend where people are realizing, time is my most valuable asset, and I can get the freedom I want, and also that's more important, the time is truly the most valuable thing. And that's what I wanted to emphasize. That we all have 24 hours in the day. There's an article I read on entrepreneur.com that said that time is the number one equalizer. So we all have 24 hours, no matter if you're a billionaire or a low income person. And, so it doesn't really matter because we all have the same amount of time. And I think in a way that's really cool to think about, how we're all, doesn't matter how much money you have in the account. It's a matter of who has more freedom of their own time, because that's also the flip side of that is, yes, we all have the same amount of time, but we
don't all use it.
We never get it back either. Every minute that goes by is a minute you can't get back. And so I think when you look at it from that perspective, I really think that's the first paradigm, because once you prioritize your time and learn that that's the most valuable thing you have, then you can kind of structure and arrange your life accordingly.
No, I agree. That's awesome. I never thought about it that way. It's kind of like the equalizer kind of thing. If you think about it, it's like time is a currency, because it is a currency, and you're spending it regardless, whether you wait, whatever you're doing, it's going by. You have a certain amount of time in a day and it's going to pass by. So it's like, are you doing what you want to be doing?
Absolutely.
With that amount of time that's already going to pass.
Yeah. And just to like continue on that rabbit hole of almost the illusion of that is created by the rat race. I think our parents and the generations before us, and even some people in our generation, were really married to this idea of success that involved getting the best job you can get so you can afford the nicest things. But I think people are starting to now realize that the ultimate form of success is having complete control of your time. Like that's the biggest flex, I think, you know?
Yeah.
Because you could do whatever you want and your financial needs are met, and potentially like you can still live that awesome lavish lifestyle if you plan accordingly and really delay gratification, which we've talked about in videos where you don't, because the thing about getting all that stuff at the upfront in the beginning of your career, when you have all that money, is you get bad debt, and bad debt is one of the number one killers of time freedom. Because this is a whole other conversation, and we'll probably end up making an episode on this particular topic with bad debt. I want to bring on a guest on the show to talk about how to get out of bad debt, but there's differences between good debt and bad debt. Pretty much bad debt is buying liabilities. Good debt helps you buy assets. That pay you. That's a very watered down version of the difference. But with bad debt, you owe someone else's money, right? You owe somebody else money. So when you're working, you're not even owning the time, and you don't even keep the money that you're making, because you're trading you're trading your time for money that will never be yours, because you have to pay it you have to pay the debt. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're trading time for someone else's money. Yeah. So if you get out, in order to really get back control of your time, first you have to dig yourself out of the hole that is bad debt in order for you to start just winning back that time. But it's like, think of it as like a hole. You have to get out of the hole before you can build up.
That's a great point. I like that.
Yeah. And so this is another thing though, because it's very dangerous and almost like tempting to think, okay, time freedom means I don't have to work and I'm not going to work and I could just be lazy. Or people think that even being retired is like you don't do anything. You just sit on a couch or something. You just obviously some people do that, and you can do that.
Yeah, you can, right?
But the thing I would say, especially if you're doing this at an early age, a lot of people in the FIRE movement is what they call it. I think it's financially independent, retire early movement. I didn't know about that. I've heard about that for a while, but the point is, a lot of these people think, oh, I'm just not going to do anything, so why would I even do that? Like, what am I going to do with my life? But the point is, you can choose what you want to do with your time. Yeah. There's two sides of this. If you don't like your job, then you can go do something you like. So you're not stopping work. You can just go get a job that you don't necessarily have to be doing for the money, but you actually like doing. Yes. And there are studies done. I don't know the statistics off my top of my head, but when you're doing work that is important to you, you're going to be more motivated. You will be less stressed. You'll also be healthier. I know this. I remember this. There's a statistic that said the number one day that people get a heart attack is Monday mornings, because they don't want to go back to the office. Yeah, they're dreading work. Now, I think if that doesn't tell you like doing something you actually like is so important, it's not just on your money or your happiness, but it's actually your health. Yeah. And so you literally like live longer if you do something you like. On top of that, I think a lot of people are doing something they don't even like because of money. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a beautiful concept, you know, like, what is it? Financial independent, retire early. Yeah. And so just to kind of build off of the point I was trying to make, you don't necessarily have to not work. It's just a matter of you choose what you want to do with your time. Yeah. So let's say you do like your job where you're at now, with passive income coming in, and you become financially independent and you have time freedom, you can still choose to show up to the same job. And in fact, I think you'll show up with even more like passion for it. You'll do the work better because you don't have to be there. You're choosing to be there. Yes. That is such a flip. Like, I remember my brother, Jeffrey, he's not here, but he always talks about how there was teachers when we were in middle school that would say, I'm just here to get a paycheck. And that's awesome. I don't know who would choose to be a teacher just to get a paycheck. Wrong. Because we know they're not paid a lot. No. We love teachers and we need them. My point is exactly that. Like, wouldn't you rather have a teacher in the workplace that actually educating our students, teaching exactly, and actually likes what they're doing, because then they're going to be that much more of an effective teacher. And not to say that, you know, all teachers out there are not, they don't enjoy teaching, because I know that to put up with most of what they put up with, they definitely have to enjoy it. Yeah. But what we're saying is just overall, just having the ability to choose what you do with your time, whether that's going to a job, whether that's trying to become an athlete, a professional athlete, whatever it is, right? It is just about having other areas that are making you money that you don't necessarily have to work for, that are funding your lifestyle,
whether you want to travel all the time or work at a restaurant, be a chef, whatever it is, right?
Or
but
just
it's just
spend
having
time, spend time with your family. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
Also traveling and doing things you want. Not necessarily postponing that, because I know I had a podcast guest on the show once, and he said that his dad kept saying, "Oh, we're going to go on this trip to Europe," and he never did because he passed away, unfortunately. He was terminally ill, and that's not like, that's obviously a dramatic example, but it can happen to anyone, and it's just like, a good point of like, have control. Don't postpone things. A lot of people will say, "I will live my best life in retirement," but it doesn't have to be that way if you know how to structure your finances and invest in cash flowing assets and really just, delay your own gratification so you can build that wealth and build that passive income, that cash flow that will allow you to live your best life, live your life by design right now. Like, it is a reality. I think it's a paradigm we have to break, where people they wait until they're 65. And that to me is something that we were taught, and just not necessarily taught by anyone in particular, but that's like what society tells you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so also in general, I think it's also important to just, in order to get time freedom, right? Like, you have to know where your time is going. So if you're wasting your time, I think there was a high percentage of your time, and studies were showing like some top time suckers, or time consuming things that maybe you don't necessarily need to be doing every day is, one, watching TV or like Netflix, B, social media scrolling that takes up a lot of time.
Yes.
Can you think of anything else people do that maybe waste time?
Yeah, I think those are probably the biggest two. I would say just...
Of course, I mean, there's going to be healthy things like spending time with family, sleeping, eating. But when you really think about it, you don't have that much time in the day because there's so much you do. Like, let's say you have a job 9 to 5, and then you eat and you sleep and you spend time with family and you walk your dog. At the end of the day, you're going to end up not having time. So I think what Hunter Thompson is one of our mentors and the people we look up to. He says, do a time audit. So sit down and start tracking what you do every day and how much the tasks you do, and then the time it takes each task to complete and how much time that's taking. And then if you compare it to the national average, like for example, social media, if that's something that you look at, okay, I don't want to be spending 2 hours a day on social media, or even your phone will tell you a lot of times. Yeah. So once you become aware of it, I think, I can't remember who said this, but they said you can't fix or really change anything that you're not tracking.
Yes.
So step one is to just become aware of how much time you're spending on certain things. And because this podcast isn't just about like real estate, it's about really getting time freedom. And so in order to do that, you can't just make passive investments, because if you do, like, you're still going to be wasting your time or just necessarily like not allocating your time in the best ways.
Yeah, you have to fix the problem, right?
Exactly.
So you have to figure out what you're spending your time doing that you probably shouldn't be doing, right? So yeah, I mean, honestly, there might be some friends that you might be hanging out with that probably shouldn't be hanging out with. Whether you're going out every weekend. Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy going out. Sometimes we can go out and we have a good time, but a lot of people, they live for the weekend. Unfortunately, they'll just wait every single Friday, and then they'll go out Friday and Saturday, and that is how they spend their time. And not to offend anyone, but you can probably do something more productive with your time.
I agree.
In doing that, right?
I agree. It's just about time freedom too. Like, yeah.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, right? But that's fine. But
exactly. But that's a good point. Now, just for the last few minutes of this episode, let's talk about how real estate and financial independence. And I'll start. So of course we touched on this, but let's just maybe expand on time freedom and financial independence. Really go hand in hand, because we all need money to have shelter, food, our basic needs met. And on top of that, a lot of people want a nice lifestyle. They want to travel. They want a nice house, nice cars, just to like go out whenever, do things. So you need money, of course. So we're not going to like overshadow that or diminish the role money plays, but we're just trying to really switch the paradigm of it, of like, okay, time is your most valuable asset. So how do you make your money work for you so that you can leverage your time and really maximize your time? Now, with that being said, Kenneth, how can real estate help somebody accomplish and free their time through financial independence?
Yeah, well, real estate investments, right? It's an investment. So with any investment, you invest some form of money, right? Upfront investment, and then you have it produce money back to you. And so it's paying you. So cash flow. So you invest a certain amount and it's paying you a certain amount every single month, and the check is just hitting. And eventually you can accumulate a certain amount per month on cash flow that you're funding whatever it is, whether your goal is 10, 20, 30 more thousand a month. that's how you can get that time freedom, and how most people use real estate for time freedom.
Yeah, because the beauty of cash flow is it's taxed differently. I'm pretty sure it's very low tax. We're not tax advisors, so go,
it's not
speak
taxed
to your CPA, but
depreciation kind of wipes it out. But yeah,
exactly. And so that's a benefit there, but it's also money you're not actively working for at a 9 to 5. So if you wanted to leave or just have the flexibility to go travel, you're still getting paid because your real estate is producing income.
Yes.
So it's hitting your account every month, quarter, year. However it's structured, but you're still making that passive income. And that's the beauty of it, is you're making money. You're not trading your time for money. Exactly. You're making your money work for you instead of you working for your money. Now, if you guys have any questions about that, I know that was really kind of like a brief overview. We could talk about that. We will talk about that on future episodes of our podcast, The Real Estate Monopoly. If you haven't listened, make sure you go check it out.
On Apple and Spotify and pretty much anywhere you can.
Any podcast streaming platform, we bring guests on to talk about we're going to start talking about financial freedom, independent time freedom, and how to get out of bad debt. It's a lot of topics, but if you have any topics relating to any of those issues or really specific things that you want to talk about, let us know in the comments or DM us on Instagram at Donis Brothers. If you want to check out our checklist for 3 steps to passive investing, and it'll provide a lot of good questions to ask a sponsor before you invest in a passive investment opportunity in order to reach that time freedom you want, so you can spend more time with your family, live a life by design, travel, really just take back control of your time. That's really the purpose of the content we make. So if you guys have any questions, reach out. Let us know what you want us to talk about. And thanks for your time, guys. We appreciate it. Please, let's get out there and take action, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a good one. God